But definitely seeing Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4 than Battlefield 1, you can see that the combat's changing a lot different. Like, there's one
And it's
direction
getting
it's going in.
worse.
It's becoming more like an arena shooter, personally.
A giant arena.
Yeah, but still an arena shooter.
No, I don't think it may be more fast-paced. Hey guys, Phantomhound here, and today I'll be talking about what Via said, that Battlefields are moving towards being an arena shooter. Now, I don't think that anyone genuinely believes that Battlefield will ever go to the extreme to become an arena shooter, but I think a lot of us can agree that things have changed with Battlefield over the years. In my own personal opinion, Battlefield 1 seems much more arcadey than its predecessors, and that it is a trend that the Battlefield titles do seem to be following. I decided to find the numbers and put this to the test and figure out whether this is just a feeling I have or if it actually has quantifiable backing. The first thing I decided to check was the damage models of the three games. Here I'm going to assume that the game with the highest damage per second should be the fastest paced game. This is due to the fact that the higher the damage per second, the shorter the amount of time spent shooting a single person, meaning that you can move on to shooting other people or to moving around the map, increasing the overall tempo of the game. So what do the damage models actually say? Well, let's look at sniper rifles. Battlefield 3 actually had the lowest damage on its sniper rifles out of the three, followed by Battlefield 4 and then Battlefield 1. So with Battlefield 1 having the highest damage on its sniper rifles, it follows the train of thought that it is a faster paced game. But wait, sniper rifles aren't the only guns in the three games. What about the others? Well, as it appears, this happens to be the only category where Battlefield 1 has the highest damage per second on any of the weapon systems. As a matter of fact, Battlefield 1 ranks with the lowest damage per second in each of the other categories of assault rifles, light machine guns, and semi-automatic rifles, leaving Battlefield 3 with the highest damage per second in these three weapon categories. That's strange. This is counter to our argument that Battlefield 1 is a faster paced game than Battlefield 3 or 4. At least using damage models as a gauge on game tempo. Also, just for a reference, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 has an average damage per second on its assault rifles of around 467, which is about 1.5 times higher than the average damage per second for assault rifles in the highest of the three Battlefield games. So, maybe characters run faster in the newer Battlefields. Nope, actually it's the opposite. Battlefield 3 has the fastest running speed of about 6.52 meters per second, and Battlefield 4 is at a close second with a running speed of 6.5 meters per second. Well, where's Battlefield 1 at? It's pretty far in the back, sitting at a little 6.035 meters per second. Oh, and don't forget that both Battlefield 3 and 4 have a sprint perk that increases a player's running speed by 10%. Making there an even larger difference between Battlefield 1 and the other two Battlefield titles. Okay, well, if the maps are smaller, then it doesn't matter how fast or slow you run, the game will be faster paced. So how about that? Well, without finding a scale for a ton of maps and then doing averages on them, I think it's safe to say that there isn't any really tremendous sizing differences between the maps of Battlefield 1 and the other two Battlefield titles. But there are a few things to say about this question. First off, there's the map Sinai Desert. It is a Battlefield 1 map, and during its release about a year ago, it was set to be the largest Battlefield map ever. Now I know that one map doesn't speak for the entire game, but it would feel out of place if one map, in this case Sinai Desert, was significantly larger than the average of the other maps in the game. It would mess up the way that people play the game because they're used to much smaller maps, and you throw in this large map, and people wouldn't really know how to react to it. It'd feel really out of place. So I don't think that most of the other Battlefield 1 maps are much smaller than Sinai, and if they are, then they can't be much smaller than the maps in Battlefield 4. Also, Battlefield 3 most likely has the smallest maps on average of the three due to technological limitations of the time and it having a max of 64 players in a server, which is half of what Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 boast on their servers. But maybe this is the key. Fewer players. Fewer players means fewer encounters and therefore a slower paced game. And I would say that this is true when moving from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, especially on maps that cross over between the two. Operation Metro is without a doubt more chaotic in Battlefield 4 than Battlefield 3. But this says nothing about Battlefield 1 that has no crossover maps. and most of its maps are pretty spacious. Also, Battlefield 3 had the Close Quarters DLC, which featured very small maps. So I don't think map size is really what we need to be looking at here. So let's go back to the intensity thing that I mentioned when comparing Metro on the two games. I believe that this is the key. Battlefield 1 feels arcadey because it lacks intensity, not because it's too fast-paced. The game lacks this sense of immersion that the other two have. So what caused this? Because as the previous parts of the video laid out, it's probably not due to the speed of the game itself. There are a lot of factors that go in here, but a big one that I noticed was the game's aesthetics. Battlefield 3 has a darker, grittier look to it than Battlefield 1. Graphically, it's rigid and rough. It displays a bluish hue and has dark shadow effects. A dark place in Battlefield 3 is dark. In Battlefield 1, this is much not the case. Battlefield 1 displays a warmly hued world with smooth textures and a pretty finish. As Drew brought up to me in a discussion, this is likely a symptom of technological advancement. As we get better at making games, they run more smoothly, they look more smooth and detailed. There are less kinks in the gameplay. This allows people to move more quickly, to react faster, and the ambiance and roughness is lost. Shooting people in a video game isn't meant to feel polished. It should feel stressful and rough. There's also another thing that has changed over the years: the player. Many Battlefield players have complained that they don't like the direction of the franchise, but just because they shout the loudest doesn't mean that they are the most representative people out there. Battlefield 3 had a huge increase in mainstream popularity from Battlefield Bad Company 2, and is practically what started the Battlefield vs. Call of Duty rivalry. Battlefield 1, on the other hand, was set to end it. This led to a large migration of Call of Duty players to also play Battlefield. This changed the player base, which in turn changed the way the game was played. The average player on Battlefield 1 probably enjoys the way the game is played. Though they may be bored with the lack of options in the game, this doesn't change how they enjoy playing games. More likely than not, the ones who don't like the direction of Battlefield are no longer the average. They are no longer the ones that represent the community as a whole. That is why some people are upset with Battlefield 1. Anyway guys, this is just me rambling and giving y'all the things that I started thinking about when arguing with Via and Drew. If you have any of your own ideas as to what has been the reason for the change in tempo of the Battlefields over the years, then let me know down in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like, and if you already haven't, then click that subscribe button. Hopefully I'll see y'all in the next video. Take care.